According to reports, the club owners, ENIC, have no intention of getting involved in the decision-making process if they were to part ways with Igor Tudor. That job falls solely on the shoulders of CEO Vinay Venkatesham and sporting director Johan Langer. Fabrizio Romano has now doubled down on his earlier claim that Roberto De Zerbi will not take charge of Tottenham right now, and that the Italian would only take charge in the summer. But the Mirror claim there is a possibility of bringing in De Zerbi now and including a release clause in his contract to allow for the reality of relegation. What a mess we are in. Here are your daily Tottenham news headlines. Hello, welcome back to the channel. My name's Craig and here are your daily Tottenham news headlines where I'll be going through all the latest news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube and are not already as yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. And please make sure you turn on the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live or upload a video to the channel. Okay, let's get into it. Give Me Sport report, rumours persist about the future at the club of Igor Tudor, or whether or not the Tottenham board roll the dice and sack him and bring in another interim head coach for the final part of the season. A number of former players and managers have been linked with the second job of saving the club, including Harry Redknapp, Tim Sherwood, Ryan Mason and Glenn Hoddle. With 3 weeks now until the next Premier League match, the March international break and then FA Cup weekend, it would appear to be the perfect time to make a decision one way or the other for Spurs. But according to reports, the club owners ENIC have no intention of getting involved in the decision-making process. That job falls solely on the shoulders of CEO Vinay Venkatesham and sporting director Johan Langer. ENIC, Venkatesham and Langer have all come in for criticism from an ever more angry fan base and that are demanding massive changes from top to bottom in N17. A BBC report following the dismal defeat to Forest stated that Spurs owners ENIC have no intention of intervening on the onus of, and that's on the onus of executive chairman Vinay Venkatesham and Johan Langer to decide the club's direction. Give Me Sport understands that Tottenham had already made contingency plans over the managerial position before their first leg of the UEFA Champions League last 16 encounter with Atletico Madrid, which ended in a disastrous 5-2 defeat. Spurs are planning to make a quick decision on the fate of Tudor, but are mindful that the Croatian is dealing with a personal issue following the death of his father, something he found out in the aftermath of the loss to Forest. Team Talk report that transfer guru Fabrizio Romano has now doubled down on his earlier claim that De Zerbi will not take charge of Tottenham right now. On March 15th, 26, Romano said after Tottenham's draw at Liverpool, "Look, what I can tell you about the Tottenham job and Roberto De Zerbi is that, let's be clear, between the past and future. The past is that in the last 3 or 4, 5, even 6, 7 weeks, Tottenham have considered, since they fired Thomas Frank, have considered Roberto De Zerbi and Mauricio Pochettino as the two main targets to become the future head coach of Spurs. So the idea was to go for one of these two. De Zerbi has always been considered the ideal candidate, also because Pochettino is going to be busy, obviously, with the USA men's national team at the World Cup. So it's not easy at this moment to plan with Pochettino being already busy with his job in the USA men's national team. At the same time, De Zerbi is different because De Zerbi is free. De Zerbi could eventually be an option already immediately, but what I can tell you is that De Zerbi was a top target for Tottenham, but at the moment De Zerbi is still not keen on taking a job in the middle of the season. That's something that Roberto De Zerbi at this stage, from what I'm told, doesn't want to do. So let's see what's going to happen next. Maybe in the summer, I'm sure there's going to be plenty of interest. Romano said on his YouTube channel on Monday evening, "Guys, let me tell you, I told you, I think several times here here on the channel, Roberto De Zerbi and Mauricio Pochettino. These are the two main names for Spurs' permanent job in the summer, so this remains the situation: De Zerbi and Pochettino. Obviously, De Zerbi could be easier because he's available, so he can have conversations now, while Pochettino is fully focused on the USA men's national team for the World Cup. So that's the situation, but for sure De Zerbi is a big name to consider for Tottenham. What's needed is Tottenham to stay in the Premier League, because if they get down to the Championship, obviously it's going to be a completely different situation. But Roberto De Zerbi for sure is a candidate for the Spurs job. That's not new. He is a strong candidate for Tottenham job in the summer, not now. Now De Zerbi is not going to Tottenham. He's an eventual topic for the summer if they stay in the Premier League. That's what I always told you, and that's what remains the situation as of today. The Mirror have reported that Spurs have been forced to reconsider their managerial plan, with Roberto De Zerbi now being considered before the summer after their relegation fears increased on Sunday. Tottenham continue to look uninspired, and with the international break now upon us, if a change is going to be made, this is the ideal time with games running out. It is 3 weeks until Tottenham face Sunderland, and the Times reports that discussions are being had over whether they go after De Zerbi. The Italian is among several names on the shortlist, which also features Mauricio Pochettino and Andoni Iraola. De Zerbi is the only man currently out of a job, though, having left Marseille earlier this year. There is a possibility of bringing him in and including a release clause in his contract to allow for the reality of relegation. Tottenham still have to play the league's bottom side in Wolves and host Leeds, another side in the relegation picture, before the season is up. Their final game of the season sees them host Everton, and the battle for survival could well go down until the last day of the campaign. The club, who have been in the Premier League since its inception in 1992, have already axed one manager this season, with Thomas Frank receiving his marching orders back in February, of course. Tottenham have taken an emphatic approach with Tudor in the light of the news of his father, Mario, died. The Croatian didn't take his media duties in the aftermath of the loss to Forest, with his assistant stating he was dealing with a personal matter. A club statement on Monday read, "Everyone at Tottenham Hotspur is deeply saddened to hear of the passing of Igor Tudor's father, Mario. Our thoughts and condolences go out to Igor and his family during this incredibly difficult time." Okay, here's my thoughts on those stories today. It's all about managerial hunts and De Zerbi for the main, isn't it? So let's cover it off all in one go. Firstly, that ENIC won't make the decision. Well, there's a surprise, but then again, it is up to Venkatesham and Langer, God help us, to make that decision whether they're going to stick with Igor Tudor or go with somebody else. They must be pulling their hair out at the club, but do you know what? They've brought this on themselves. I've said before, they've brought this on themselves. Shame on them. Shame on them, because they've let this club down for years, and finally it's coming back to bite them on the backside. How are we in this position? I'll tell you partly how we're in this position. Thomas Frank was the wrong appointment and should have been let go back in November. I've said before, I'm sure if Daniel Levy was here, he would have seen this coming, and Frank wouldn't have been at the club still at Christmas. He would have given the next manager plenty of time to turn this around. Instead, they've waited, and now it's possibly too late. This is real dire straits for Spurs now, the situation we're in. And if we do get out of it, you hope it's a wake-up call to them. I'm not sure it would be, but you'd hope it would be, because they must. Those, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those board meetings, because if we go down, wow. People saying that the club need a reset, and I agree with that. But people saying, you know, we should go down because that would be a real good. I don't agree. The reality of relegation is horrific for this club. Not only we can't pay the money for better players, and let's face it, which good players are going to want to come to us in the Championship with respect. So this would set us back years, possibly a decade. You know, it takes a while for teams to get back. You saw it with Villa and Newcastle, and by getting back, I mean getting back to the level where you're actually competing again. This is a horrific situation to be in for Spurs, and the whole point of these articles today was to talk about showing the difference of opinion and the reports out there really about De Zerbi. Could they bring him in now? Fabrizio Romano seems to think there's no way De Zerbi is going to be coming in till at least the summer, and only if we're in the Premier League. So obviously fellow countryman of Romano. So does he know a bit more information than some of the other national newspapers, where the Mirror saying that there could be a relegation clause if De Zerbi was to come in now, and he would have the chance to and choice to leave in the summer if we were relegated. So I could actually see that happening, and if they really want De Zerbi, they could probably put that clause in. So look, I'm none the wiser. I would think that by the end of this week we'll have some more clarity on the situation and find out what direction they're going to go in. If I was Igor Tudor after that, the horrible news, the death of his father, is he going to want to? I mean, some people want to get back to work and just that's the way they deal with things. But does he need the pressure and stress of Tottenham right now? I would imagine, I don't know, but I would imagine that they would have discussed about a mutual parting of ways and just admit that the Tudor situation hasn't worked. Let him be with his family at this tough time, and then as long as they've got a plan, to bring in whoever it is, whether it's a De Zerbi or, there's still reports out there about bringing in ex-club players, ex-club managers, of course. That's the route that I wouldn't mind us go down. So yeah, let's see what happens. But we are a massive mess at the moment. Obviously, a majority of our players have gone off on international duty, and probably they're looking forward to meeting up with their national teams just to get away from Tottenham for a little while. Unfortunately, we can't, but at least we don't have to watch the football, which sounds horrible to say, but at least we haven't got to watch a game for 3 weeks. Hopefully when we do come back against Sunderland, then we're in a better place, because let's face it, if we win our fixtures in April, we stay up. Pretty much that's the reality of it, I would suggest. But obviously we've got to win them. 2 wins in the last God knows how many, and we've got 7 games to win, nearly half of them, 3 of them. So is that realistic? Is it realistic that West Ham are going to pick up points? I would suggest yes. Leeds seem to be drawing their way to safety. And obviously Forest beat us. That was their first win in a while, of course. But, they're picking up points. We just need to start picking up points by hook or by crook and just stop conceding goals. But get down in the comments. Let me know, would you take De Zerbi now? Do you think De Zerbi would be a good choice? Who would you want as next Tottenham Hotspur manager, or would you rather keep Igor Tudor till the end of the season? Get down in the comments and let me know. And as always, come on you Spurs.